Nitesh, I can't. There's a glitch.
So yeah, I guess we are live right now. Hi guys.
All right, perfect.
Here we have Mahirupal joining us. He's currently pursuing his bachelor's from University of Calgary, Canada,
Bachelors,
and yeah,
bachelors, bachelors.
yeah, bachelor's from University of Calgary, Canada. So yeah, Mahir, can you tell
So
us more
yeah,
about yourself?
I am a student at the University of Calgary in Canada. Honestly, beautiful, beautiful place, Canada up there. Underrated, obviously, because America has obviously underrated it a lot when they call it a simple place to live at. Definitely not a simple place, and
Hmm.
it's a very, very beautiful place there. Uh,
Hmm.
People say that it's very cold, and they sometimes discourage people from going to Canada, especially from if you're from a place like India.
Hmm.
But honestly, once you're there, you settle down. A little about me. I I love reading about diplomacy. I love reading about global news. I'm the founder of a YouTube channel called Wavelength by the Bright Eclipse. We have
Awesome.
small discussions. Well, I wouldn't say small discussions. We have about 15-minute long discussions on we have them on politics, economics, philosophy, gaming, AI, tech, basically everything under the sun. And we're a new channel. We're a very, very new channel, but
Hmm. Hmm.
we're rising, and hopefully we get to the heights that we have always
Right.
imagined that we would be.
Right. Right. And which course are you pursuing currently?
I'm doing my Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Right. And over the last few months, right? Last few months would have been the best in terms of international education, right? Maybe you wouldn't have had your offline classes, right? So how was the last 6 months experience as another student?
The last 6 months were, I would just put it in, just summarize it by using one word. They were different. They were really, really different because it's nothing that we've imagined before. It's something that it was an entire shock, transitioning
Hmm.
from high school to university, settling down in university, then suddenly coming back home, and then it was just a whole shock, I would say, because uh, we were attending classes in person, we were having
Hmm.
interactions with each other in person, and suddenly it all became online. And
Right.
I'm not gonna say it's bad, but I'm not gonna say it's good either. It's in the gray area in the middle. So that's
Hmm.
where we lie at this point in time. And the 6 months were so initially in March, we they ended classes and they said that it's all going to go online. First of all, finding out how it's going to go online was a big task, and then settling down with that, and then the whole time difference after we came back to India, and it honestly, I'm still adjusting with that. I'm not adjusted, and it's going to take a
Hmm.
while to adjust to this whole scenario.
Right. 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 So were you in India or in Canada for the last 6 months?
I was in India. I came back in March. I
Uh-huh.
It was a sudden thing where I had to come back. My parents said, "Okay, come back quickly. It's not safe to be there. It's cold."
Hmm.
They don't know how cold it was, but yes, it was cold. and just come back quickly. So I came back. Then final exams are online. Then now fall
Okay,
semester is online.
right. And when is the chance to go back? What do
I
you
guess
think
that's the million
when
dollar
you?
question, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But
Any confirmation from the university? Any rough dates or month?
not at the moment. No, they haven't said anything from their side. But at the same time, from what we hear, is
Uh huh.
that high schools and other schools for everyone other than university have started,
Uh
and
huh.
we're expecting that winter semester we get to go back. But
Mm-hmm.
we have our fingers crossed, but we can't just assume and book tickets and then just decide to go, because there's a high chance that there's going to be lockdowns again, assuming that
Right.
there's going to be a second wave all over the world.
Right.
So yeah, there's no confirmation from anywhere, not from our side, not from their side.
Got it. And so were there any degrees in the fees for the online semester, or was the fees same?
It was just the same. We were all expecting there to be a decrease, but to our shock and surprise, and at the same time to our expectations,
Uh
they
huh.
were the same. They were very much the
Uh huh.
same.
And regarding the quality of education, has that decreased a bit, or
I wouldn't say
how's it?
the quality of education has decreased. I would say the quality of
Mm-hmm.
the experience has decreased.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting the whole university experience anymore. When you're at the university, you go to the libraries, you have those
Mm,
study group sessions, you
mm,
interact with people. Now there's none of that.
right,
But at
right.
the same time, the way the professors teach, it's just the same.
Mm-hmm.
The way the university holds assignments, holds assessments, they're just the
Mm-hmm.
same. So no, the quality of education hasn't gone down.
Right. So we're gonna jump into the questions which we got on Instagram, right?
Of course.
Okay. So the first one by Abhishek is, what was your first job in Canada?
Oh, that's actually funny. So my first job in I was working part time with the Calgary Health Trust in Calgary,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to go door to door collecting donations. Now
Mm-hmm.
that might sound easy, but add in the difficulty of about minus 20 to 25 degrees of temperatures and snow
Oh God.
and snowfall, and you're using this small tablet to collect donations, and snow's falling onto the tablet, and it's messing up the whole thing. And you can't be walking around. You can't be
Mm-hmm.
walking around without gloves and without your 3 layers of jackets. So
Mm-hmm.
there were those added weights and difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first job in Canada, and I
Okay.
presume that was my first and last job so far in Canada.
Right. So the next question is quite related to the first question. How is the weather in Canada? Is it too harsh? And which states are better in terms of the weather?
So from when you go from India,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do, first of all, you definitely do need to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Alberta does get, the state that I am in, Alberta,
Mm-hmm.
Calgary, it does get pretty cold. It, it
Right.
it goes to about minus 35, minus 40 degrees.
Uh-huh.
Manitoba gets cold.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Basically, every state apart from the state of British Columbia does get cold. British Columbia probably goes to, from what I've heard, minus 10 at max, and they call that cold
Mm-hmm.
when we've survived minus 35. And Manitoba also goes to about minus 35, minus 40 as well. When
Mm-hmm.
you look at states like Yukon and Northern Territories, they also go. They probably cross minus 50 from what I've heard.
Uh-huh.
Again, you really need to confirm that. This is all based on what I've heard. So, but yes, they are cold. They are very, very cold.
And how can students prepare for that kind of a weather?
I guess
You
put
know.
your AC on the on 16 degrees while you're at home before going, but you're still not going to be as prepared. Honestly, there is
Uh-huh.
no way you can prepare for the cold when you go there. You have to go there and experience it yourself, which is when you're going to be able to face it. Because
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that you really can't prepare for when
Right.
you're
Right.
going there.
Right. True, true, right. And yeah, what was your application process like? Your entire study abroad journey?
Oh wow, okay, yeah, I love talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
So my application process was honestly very smooth. Uh, but every application process does have a little bumps in them here and there. Sometimes you stress
Mm-hmm.
out about, oh my God, I've still not received order from this university. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Right.
looking back at that, I feel I was worrying for no reason. Um, so I applied to a few universities in the States and in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at any
Mm-hmm.
other country. I applied to. I'm not able to recollect which universities in the state, but I remember I applied to Acadia University, Concordia University in Montreal, University of Calgary, University of British Columbia, and Simon
Mm-hmm.
Fraser University in Canada. And I basically got into every university that I applied to, but I ended up choosing
Right.
University of Calgary because it seemed to be the best choice course-wise. It was a smaller number. It was an appropriate number of students, I would say, that I required, and the fees seemed to be pretty feasible. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Affordability wise, yes, it was. It ticked all the boxes.
Right. And why do you choose Canada over the US?
I chose Canada over the US because I at that point in time and still I wanted to be a
Mm.
diplomat, and I don't see
Mm.
the US going in any way of diplomacy.
Right.
They are going in the way of diplomacy. They are exercising their diplomats, but not to be diplomatic. Let me put it in that way. And at the
Quite
same
true.
time, I saw better future in Canada compared to the US because US has certain policies in place that may not let me have that flexibility of work in the future
Mm-hmm.
unless I become a green card holder and then a citizen.
Right.
But then
Right.
you're hoping for too much when you start thinking about that
Mm.
while
Mm.
you're studying and or while you're doing bachelor's. So I felt Canada was a much better place because they're offering much more than what the United States would.
Right. Right. And why not countries like the UK, Australia, New Zealand?
Uh, Honestly, Australia and New Zealand, I just found them to be too far away from the rest of the world. Too sick. Yes, they are a beautiful world in their own. I
Right.
would love
Right.
to visit these places, but getting educated in these places, I didn't. I just wanted to be on the other side of the world
Mm.
for that.
Mm. Mm. Right.
And the United Kingdom, being an Indian, I was gonna have to come back from the United Kingdom because
Right.
obviously
Because of
their
the.
laws. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to stay away from home and try to
Mm.
create a new
Mm.
life of
Mm.
my own, try to
Got
turn
it.
a new leaf somewhere else, which is
Mm.
why I
Mm.
thought going to Canada would be best.
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So on the same lines, we've got a lot of questions on this topic, which is PR in Canada. Right.
Of
How
course.
easy, difficult is it to get a PR in Canada? A lot of students going from India are looking for getting PR. Right.
Right.
So yeah.
Uh, uh, Permanent residency in Canada is not as big a challenge as getting the green card. Actually,
Mm.
I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
even call it a challenge. It
Right.
it involves a process. It involves a process of getting those certain amount of points to qualify. But if you
Hmm.
have that university education from Canada,
Right.
you're basically halfway there.
Hmm.
So let's say you get your education from Canada, you get a job in Canada, you're able to
Mm-hmm.
get that state nomination that you require, you've
Mm-hmm.
got it. Basically, the state is asking the government to say to give you the PR because
Mm-hmm.
they want you to be part of that state. So
Right.
uh,
Right.
the hack to get that PR is to study there. I'm not saying that if you study in any other country, you're not going to be able to get a PR. I'm saying that if you study in Canada, it's way more easier to get a PR than any other country if you get your bachelor's
Mm-hmm.
there. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
the most
Got it.
essential part of getting a permanent residency is having a bachelor's degree. And
Mm-hmm.
a degree which is more favorable to the government. Let's say you're a professional, you're a lawyer, you've done your
Hmm.
LLB from India, you'll
Hmm.
you'll be able to procure a PR from Canada, definitely. And on the same lines, you'll be able to get your PR from Canada.
Hmm. So, are there any specific courses which have a high chance of getting a PR easily or quickly?
There, I mean, if you're doing medicine, definitely
Hmm.
it's an easy job. It's a piece of cake.
Hmm.
A law, diplomacy, basically they require all sorts of people because they have a very low population of their
Uh-huh.
own people,
Uh-huh.
which is why it depends on who's checking your application. First of all, your PR application, and how many points you're able to get.
Hmm.
There's an
Right.
easy way. Actually, Canada.ca has their point system available online, so you can check whatever you have and whatever you don't have, you don't, and you'll be able to see how many points you're able to get and what you need to do in order to get more points. That's one easy way to do that. In fact, I
Hmm.
have done
Hmm.
that quite a lot of times, and I have evaluated what I need to do in order to get the permanent residency in Canada.
Right. 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 Okay. So, how is the course Bachelors in Culinary Arts and its future prospects in Canada? Bachelor of Culinary
Uh,
Arts.
Bachelors of Culinary Arts, I would say, has should be a very good course in Canada. Canada is a huge country, and I stay in
Hmm.
probably
Hmm.
the Midwest in Canada. So I'm not going to be able to give you a perspective of the eastern side of Canada or the western side of Canada. I'm just going to be able to give you a perspective from where
Hmm.
I study, and I would say it would be a good way to uh, broaden your spectrum. You can there are a lot of restaurant chains. There are a lot of prospects to work in Canada, and I feel it has a good future in Canada because, again,
Hmm.
as I said, Canada requires all sorts of people, and
Right.
probably having a degree in culinary arts would also be a good way to go forward.
Hmm. 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 Right. Right. What do you suggest
Natesh, there's a glitch over there. I can't see you properly. Natesh? Yeah, I can see you properly now. Can you repeat your question, Natesh?
I guess there was some problem with my connection. Yeah, I guess I'm
No
back,
problem.
right?
Yeah, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Right.
yeah,
So
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I didn't get
I
your
was.
question out there.
Right. So I was asking that, you know, the Black Lives Matter protest in the US, right? They have made us think about the racism which Indians face in the US and Canada, right? So, have you ever faced racism in Canada, or any of your friends, have any experience of that kind?
From what I know, neither have I nor have any of my friends faced any sort of racism anywhere in Canada. Canada
Uh huh.
doesn't believe in all of that. Their ideologies are completely different from south of their border, and
Hmm.
I feel that's something. If anyone says that there could be that kind of a problem of racism in Canada. No, there has never been that kind of a problem. Never have I ever heard that kind of a problem that anyone has faced so far.
Hmm. Okay. Right.
Everyone
Uh,
believes in coexisting out there.
hmm.
That's the goal for them.
Right. Right. And um, in the US, people now are seeing, um, sh- mass shootings over there and things like that, right? And they are very concerned about going to the US, right? Is there anything like that in Canada?
Nothing like that. As I said, everyone coexists as
Hmm.
individuals out there. Canadians are look like all sorts of people, and
Uh-huh.
there is no reason to worry. In fact, we
Right.
have enough and more representation in the parliament itself, and
Right.
there is no reason to worry. US is something entirely different, and Canada's
Hmm.
uh, another place altogether. And Canadians, I would say, are the sweetest people alive. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I'm
Right.
not saying that anyone else isn't, but from what I have experienced, Canadians are really, really sweet.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
there's no such problem out there. No.
And what about the Indian community in Canada? How strong is
Oh,
it?
plethora.
And yeah.
It's
Hmm.
beautiful. Especially in Calgary, we have this area in Calgary called Northeast Calgary, where
Hmm.
there's a whole bunch of Indian people. There's a whole bunch of Indian stores, Indian grocery stores. In fact, I found a funny story. I found orange lays with rupees 10 written on the corner. It's that Indian out there.
Uh-huh. Right.
So there is just no reason to have any fear because you step out, you're gonna find bus drivers who are sardars. You're gonna find
Hmm.
Gujarati people. In fact, there is
Hmm.
Indian tiffin services available. So there's a
Hmm.
huge Indian community out there. Huge, huge,
Hmm.
huge Indian community.
Hmm.
What they say
Right.
about Canada being another India, it is very true. It's a very, very modern India. Yes, that's very
Right.
true.
Right. Right. And what about the part-time opportunities which students get? Um,
It depends from province to province. From what I've heard
mm,
in provinces like Ontario and British Columbia, it is comparatively easier to get part-time jobs. But in
okay.
Alberta, I found it very difficult to get my first job. It took me at least 4 to 5 months to get my first job. In fact, my roommate
Hmm.
knows, and I feel he's watching right now. Hi, Kshitij. Uh, he knows the struggles I went through to get my first job in Canada, and it is a challenge because of the rising number of students out there. But there's no
Hmm.
reason to worry if you don't get a job. But a reason to worry is scams. There are
Uh-huh.
people who can easily scam you when they offer you a part-time job.
Okay. How's that?
So they can say that, oh, I have come across your profile on Indeed, and I'd like to offer you a
Hmm.
job, paying you about
Hmm.
$950 a week or $1,000 a week, which when you go there, you feel as though, oh wow, I'm going to be earning so much. I'm going to be getting more than that minimum wage of $8 or $15 an hour, and that actually turns out to be a sale of bitcoins, and you withdrawing about $2,500 from in cash from the banks, and you investing in bitcoins that probably lead you to some other country, and round, and at the end of the day your bank account gets freezed.
And that is your own cash, is it?
That's not your own cash. They transfer it to you from some other account, probably in some strange state in Canada, and
Uh-huh.
it ends up coming into your account. You
Oh God.
withdraw that cash. You do the manpower, go to the Bitcoin ATM, transfer that cash, and basically you probably helped in a crime. So one thing to always be aware of is scams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And what kind of jobs do students get? I've heard that the jobs are not that fancy.
The jobs aren't fancy. You can probably get a job as a supermarket store assistant, as a customer service assistant, as probably a waiter, a busser where you
Hmm.
clean tables.
Mm-hmm.
But you get your $15 an hour, $16 an hour at the end of
Right.
the day. You can work for around 20 hours a week, where you easily are able to make about $15 an hour. So it's a good income flow that you're seeing, but at the same time, uh, they're not as fancy as they seem, or they would be as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
Nitesh.
Okay, right. So the next question is, how important is IELTS in the university application?
IELTS is very important not only for the university application but also for your visa. You
Hmm.
require to get at least over a 6.5 in your IELTS overall. I suggest work as hard as possible. Probably get a 7,
Hmm.
7.5. You're easily within the boundaries in each of your listening, reading, writing. You should be able to, and speaking as well. You should be able to get over a 6 or a 6.5 to be able to qualify to get that visa. So
Right. Right.
yeah, it is a very very important factor, not only for your application or visa. As a matter of fact, it's even important for your PR, because it's your English proficiency. You come from a
Hmm.
country that native whose native language isn't English,
Right.
especially when you're going from India. So I feel
Hmm. Hmm.
I know that IELTS is very very important.
Hmm. 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 So the next question by Jagwinder is future in Canada after computer programming course from Seneca, jobs and other opportunities.
As I mentioned previously, there are a lot of jobs available. You just need to go to the right state. You need to probably be in a bigger state. You need to probably be in a big city to be able to procure jobs that you desire. You need to be in a state
Hmm.
that offers that kind of a thing. And how do you know what state it is? You need to do your research before leaving from here.
Okay. Right.
Computer science, from what I believe, has a good prospect in Canada, but at the same time, research is everything before you step out of here.
Right. Okay. Got it. Got it. So we have two more questions lined up. The first
Of
one
course.
is okay. So we have two questions of the same category. Which one is better, University of Windsor or Manitoba? And the second one in the same lines, on the same lines, is which one is better, University of Calgary or Alberta? If you could answer in a way, how can students compare two particular universities, their ranking, location, class size, tuition fees?
So I'm going to first come to University of Calgary in Alberta, because
Hmm.
I'm part of the University of Calgary, and I'm always going to have a personal bias towards the University of Calgary. But I would say, ranking wise, University of Alberta is better. It has
Hmm.
ranked better than the University of Calgary. University of something that people actually may not know. University of Calgary used to be the Calgary wing of the University of Alberta.
Hmm.
And this was about 50 to 60 years ago, and they separated and came out into their own university as University of Calgary.
Hmm.
University of Calgary has a beautiful campus located in a very very beautiful city, which uh, is modern and has its own natural aspects altogether. I have visited the city where University of Alberta is located in, that is in Edmonton.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, and I don't look at it from a personal bias at all. Edmonton didn't give me as much joy when I visited it for the first time as Calgary did, because Calgary
Mm-hmm.
is green and modern with those high-rising buildings at the same time. Edmonton just seemed like probably another San Francisco, or yeah, San
Uh-huh.
Francisco is a beautiful city, but you may get tired looking at those tall buildings at one point in time, and you may want to look at
Mm-hmm.
those green spaces.
Right.
At the same time, Calgary is a nice, calm, soothing city with not much going on throughout the day. Has those, obviously you need to realize that students are going to go for parties, and it has a beautiful party environment as well. And I would say that looking at all prospects, yes, University of Alberta may seem better, but University of Calgary has a much wider prospect, and it looks forward to holistic development.
Right.
I mean, I don't know anyone who goes to University of Alberta, but I know quite a few people who got into University of Alberta, but still ended up coming to the University of Calgary, and they stayed in Edmonton as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, that is one thing. Uh, Coming to University of Manitoba and University of Windsor. University of Windsor is mainly known for its engineering prospects. University of
Mm-hmm.
Manitoba can get really, really cold, and it
Mm-hmm.
has a very, very nice campus. It has a nice major spectrum to choose from. Like, you can choose from between a lot of majors. So I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say again, it depends on what you want to do. But
Right.
rankings is not the only thing you have to look at. World rankings or rankings within Canada is not the only thing to look at. You need to look at, first of all, whether that particular university offers the major of your choice. How is the studies of that major in that university? And then you end up looking at which city you want to go to. You end up looking at which um, how the weather is in that place
Mm-hmm.
before you select that university. So I would say Windsor and I believe University of Manitoba is in Winnipeg. These are two very cold places in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one's colder, but I know both of them are really, really cold. So you're going to have to again decide based upon your major.
Right.
And one thing I would like to add to the PR prospect. Uh, your PR and your visa is only approved if you
Mm-hmm.
are going to a government recognized university. It has to be a
Okay.
designated university under the government. That happens
Mm-hmm.
when that you realize what a designated university or a designated learning institution is when
Mm-hmm.
you start doing your visas. But you have to
Mm-hmm.
always take a look at a public university, uh, because those public universities are always recognized under the government. So yeah,
Right. Okay.
that I
Right.
hope that answers your
Mm.
question based
Yeah.
on
Sure.
Manitoba, Calgary, Edmonton, and
Sure.
Windsor.
So yeah. So we have a couple of questions from our Facebook, live. I'll just pop
Of
it over
course.
here. Yeah. So, do we have to give
If any
IELTS again?
university accepts TOEFL, we have
Do
to
we have
do
to?
IELTS also for the visa. I'd say it's better to give IELTS as a whole, because when I was doing my visa application, because your university and the government of Canada accepts IELTS, it's the more convenient option.
Hmm.
Why would you? And from what I believe, IELTS also offers a computer-based exam.
Right.
So it's better to give IELTS instead of TOEFL altogether. But if you have done your TOEFL before, and you feel that that was a better score that you have gotten, then I feel you need to do your homework and see whether the government, and while
Mm-hmm.
you're doing your visas, is accepting TOEFL. But from what I believe, IELTS is the best option to go forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Right. So yeah, what is the normal living lifestyle cost in Canada? Living expenses in Canada.
As I said before, Canada is a huge country. Canada is a very,
Uh-huh.
very huge country, and the lifestyle cost, the cost of living differs from one side of the country to the other. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to want to first decide where you want to go. Toronto might have a way, way higher cost of living than probably Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
Calgary has I would say, a moderate cost of living. Vancouver may also have a very high cost of living compared to Calgary. Edmonton might have an okayish cost of living, a moderate cost of
Mm-hmm.
living. So you want to see first of all where you want to go, and then
Mm-hmm.
decide, and then see the cost of living in that kind of a place. But and always remember that a big state and a big city will always have a high cost of living. So if that
Mm-hmm.
is feasible and affordable to you, go ahead, because those big states and big cities come with their perks, and with higher opportunities and
Right.
chances.
Right. Right. So in Calgary, what was your expenses like? Your monthly
So
expenses? Yeah.
it wasn't that much. First of all, I was covered by something called GIC,
Mm-hmm.
where our parents transfer about $10,000 to a bank in Canada, and we have an account with them, and they keep adding about $670 per month for about the first
Mm-hmm.
year into our accounts.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I used to roughly spend around 150 dollars per month,
Uh-huh.
because I
Okay.
was covered by my dining plan in school.
Uh-huh.
I was living on campus, so there was not much that I had to spend. But at the same time, if you're going to be living off campus right from the beginning, yes, there is going to be a little bit more that you're going to have to spend, a little bit more than $150 per month. In Calgary, going to end up spending, if you're living with a few peers, around 500 or $600 per month just for your rent,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
a little bit, probably about 100 or 150 odd dollars more for your food. But I guess that will be around where you spend if you're living off campus, and on campus is going to be a little bit more cheaper, because
Mm-hmm.
considering you paid the fees before.
Right. Right. Okay. So the last question which we have is, how do we apply for scholarships, and what is the and best chance of getting scholarships?
Um, the Canada does give chances for scholarships compared to any other country. They have a lot of scholarship opportunities available. Now, it depends from university to university, honestly. You in our university, you apply for scholarships after you've gotten in, and there are multiple chances to apply for scholarships even while you're studying. Uh,
Mm,
for uh, for example, right now even I was offered to apply for a scholarship. You don't have to pay for the application at all. You have to write some sort of an essay and submit it to them.
mm,
So you have to again, research is the key element that I'm going to focus on. Research is a key element based on how you're going to even apply for scholarships in the university that you want to go to. And if you're applying at multiple universities within Canada, you have to know that every university has different policies. Every university will have a different set of guidelines according to how you're going to apply for scholarships, and they will always have their deadlines posted on their website. So it's a good idea to take a look at the future students or the prospective students tab on their university's website, and
mm,
see how you're going to be assessed based on your scholarship, and how you have to apply for your scholarship, and what are the parameters where you are eligible to apply for a scholarship.
mm. Right, right. Okay, okay. So I guess that is it. That are all the questions which we had, and it was an amazing session. Thanks for joining in,
Definitely.
Mahir, and
Thank you
thank you
very
all for
much for
joining
having
in.
me.
Yes, yes. Okay then. Okay then.
Have a
I'll
great
just
day. Have a great day.
end the live. Just a second, Mahir.